His mouth was on hers before she could scream. One massive hand clamped over her lips while the other gripped her waist like a vice. "Those men in your video?" he growled against her ear, his accent thick and dangerous. "They run the biggest cartel in Brazil. You filmed their faces. You're already dead." Tessa bit down hard on his palm, tasting salt and smoke. He didn't even flinch, just pressed closer, his chest solid as concrete against her back. "Bite harder next time," he whispered, voice dropping to something dark and hungry. "I like it rough." Then he threw her over his shoulder like she weighed nothing, one hand possessively gripping her thigh, and carried her into the Rio night. She was being kidnapped by the gorgeous firefighter who'd saved her life 12 hours ago. And God help her, part of her didn't want to fight back. The bass from inside the club still pounded in Tessa Harper's chest as she stumbled onto the cobblestone street, her phone held high to capture the neon chaos of Rio's Lapa district at 2 in the morning. 28 years old, recently dumped, and desperate to prove she was living her best life, even if the Instagram filters were doing most of the heavy lifting. "This is amazing," she slurred slightly to her phone camera, panning across the colonial arches lit up in purple and gold. "Brazil, you guys. This is what freedom looks like." Freedom looked a lot like being slightly drunk and lost, but her 15,000 followers didn't need those details. She rounded a corner looking for her Uber when the smell hit her. Acrid, chemical, wrong. Then she saw the flames. Across the narrow street, a warehouse was burning, orange light punching through windows like angry fists. Without thinking, Tessa raised her phone and hit record. The footage captured everything, flames crawling up the building's side, black smoke billowing into the purple night sky. And there, in the foreground, 3 men in expensive suits standing beside a black SUV. They weren't running. They weren't calling for help. They were watching the fire like it was a bonfire they'd built themselves. One of them turned and looked directly at her camera. He smiled. It wasn't friendly. The license plate was perfectly visible in her shot. Before Tessa's wine-soaked brain could process what she'd witnessed, the world exploded. The blast threw her backward, her phone flying from her hand as her body hit the cobblestones hard enough to knock the air from her lungs. Her ears rang with a high-pitched whine. Smoke and heat rolled over her in waves. Through the chaos in her watering eyes, a figure emerged from the smoke. Massive, moving with purpose, covered in soot, and wearing firefighter gear hanging open to reveal a chest that looked carved from stone. He didn't ask permission. He didn't slow down. He just scooped her up in his arms like she was a child and ran. Tessa's world became a blur of movement. His arms, iron bars beneath her knees and shoulders, his heart hammering against her side, the way his jaw was set in complete focus as he carried her 3 blocks away from the inferno. When he finally set her down in an alley, she got her first real look at him. Holy hell. He was beautiful in a brutal way. All hard angles and darker angles, a jaw that could cut glass, and eyes so dark they looked black in the streetlight. A scar ran from his left ear down his neck, disappearing beneath his collar. Sweat and soot streaked his face. He had to be 6'4", built like he could pull cars apart with his bare hands. "Are you hurt?" His English was heavily accented, each word deliberate. What? The building, are you hurt?" Firmer this time. His hands were on her shoulders, checking her over with professional efficiency that somehow felt intensely personal. "No, I don't think." "Good." He straightened, about to turn away. "Wait." Tessa grabbed his arm, feeling muscle jump beneath her fingers. "What happened? Was anyone inside? Are you—" His radio crackled with urgent Portuguese. His expression shifted from concerned to something darker, more dangerous. His eyes dropped to her phone, which she'd somehow managed to retrieve in the chaos, clutched in her other hand like a lifeline. "What's on that?" He pointed at her phone. "What? Nothing? I was filming the fire." In one smooth motion, he grabbed her wrist. Not rough, but absolutely unmovable. "Delete it." "Excuse me?" "The video. Delete it. Now." Tessa yanked her hand back, anger flaring through her shock. "Who the hell do you think you are? You can't just... You don't understand what you saw." His voice was low, urgent. He glanced back toward the fire, then at her phone again, and something in his expression made her stomach drop. Fear? Warning? Both? Then explain it to me. Their eyes locked. His were so dark she couldn't see where the pupil ended and the iris began. For a moment, something passed between them. A charge, a recognition, something that made her breath catch and her pulse jump for reasons that had nothing to do with the explosion. Delete the video, he repeated, softer this time, almost pleading. Por favor. No. His jaw clenched so hard she could see the muscle jump. Then, he released her wrist and stepped back, his expression closing off completely. Then God help you, Americana. Before she could respond, he turned and disappeared back into the smoke and chaos, leaving Tessa shaking in an alley, her phone still clutched in her hand, and a sinking feeling that she'd just made a terrible mistake. Tessa woke up with cotton mouth, a pounding headache, and the vague sense that something was very wrong. Sunlight streamed through the gauzy curtains of her boutique hotel room in Ipanema. For a moment, she just lay there, trying to piece together the night before. The club, the fire, the explosion, him. She grabbed her phone from the nightstand and pulled up Instagram. The video was there, slightly shaky footage of flames and smoke. And if she squinted, 3 blurry figures by an SUV. She'd posted it at 3 a.m. with the caption, "Crazy night in Rio. Anyone know what happened here?" It had 2,347 views already. Before she could feel too proud of her engagement numbers, there was a knock at her door. Tessa threw on the hotel robe and padded over, expecting housekeeping. Instead, she found a massive bouquet of white lilies sitting in the hallway. No card, no delivery person. Just dozens of pristine white blooms that seemed to glow in the morning light. Something about them felt wrong. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text was in English. "Delete the video. Last warning." Tessa stared at the message, then at the flowers, then back at her phone. Her finger hovered over the delete button for about 3 seconds before her stubborn streak, the same one that had torpedoed 2 relationships and gotten her written up at work, kicked in. She screenshot the threatening text and posted it to her Instagram story. Apparently, someone really doesn't want you guys seeing that fire video. Thoughts? She felt brave, defiant, like she was finally doing something interesting with her safe, predictable life. She had no idea she'd just signed her own death warrant. By evening, Tessa had almost convinced herself the text was a prank. She spent the day at the hotel pool, practiced her terrible Portuguese on the bartender, and video called her best friend Maya to complain about being stood up for yet another wedding activity. "I flew all the way to Brazil for your bachelorette party and you're too busy with seating charts to hang out," Tessa whined, adjusting her sunglasses. "I'm getting married in 3 days, Tess. I'm allowed to be busy. Besides, you're supposed to be having adventures, meeting hot Brazilian men, living your best life after that disaster with Marcus. I almost got blown up last night. Does that count as adventure?" Maya laughed, thinking she was joking. They chatted for another 10 minutes before Tessa headed back to her room to change for dinner. She knew something was wrong the moment she opened the door. Her suitcase had been dumped out, clothes scattered everywhere, drawers yanked open, the mattress askew like someone had checked underneath. Tessa backed toward the door, hand fumbling for her phone. The balcony door exploded inward. She screamed as a massive figure burst through the curtains, but the sound died in her throat when she recognized him. The firefighter from last night, now in jeans and a black t-shirt that did nothing to hide his ridiculous build. His expression was furious. Before she could move, he was on her, one hand clamping over her mouth, the other wrapping around her waist and pulling her back against his chest. His mouth was right against her ear. "Those men in your video, they run the Commando Vermelho. You filmed their faces during an arson that killed a federal witness. You're already dead." Tessa bit down hard on his palm, hard enough to break skin. He didn't even flinch, just tightened his grip and pressed closer. "Bite harder next time," he whispered, and there was something dark and dangerous in his voice that sent a confusing mix of fear and heat straight through her. "I like it rough." The drive took 2 hours. Tessa spent the first 30 minutes of it slung over Raphael's shoulder in the back of a beat-up SUV, his hand possessively gripping her thigh while she hammered her fists against his back and screamed every curse word she knew. "Are you finished?" he asked calmly, navigating a switchback mountain road. "Fuck you." "Not yet, but keep talking dirty and we'll get there." She tried to kick him. He caught her ankle without looking and placed her foot back down almost gently. Please stop. You're going to hurt yourself. Good. Then maybe you'll feel bad about kidnapping me. I'll feel worse if they find your body in pieces. That shut her up. For about 5 minutes. By the time they reached the cabin, Tessa had cycled through rage, terror, and was landing somewhere around exhausted resignation. He deposited her on her feet outside what he called a cabin, but looked more like a fortress. Concrete and wood built into the mountainside, solar panels on the roof, bars on the windows. "Welcome to your new home," Raphael said, grabbing her bag from the trunk. "This is insane. You're insane. I'm calling the police." He held up her phone, which he'd confiscated back at the hotel. "No, you're not. The embassy, then, can't protect you. My family will be told you extended your trip. I sent your mother a lovely text about how much you're enjoying Brazilian culture." Tessa stared at him, horrified. "You went through my phone? I also deleted your social media apps. You're welcome." He unlocked the heavy door and gestured inside. "After you." "Absolutely not." He sighed, then bent and threw her over his shoulder again. She shrieked and pounded his back, but he just carried her inside like she weighed nothing and deposited her on a surprisingly comfortable couch. The interior was nicer than she expected. Open concept, modern kitchen, a loft bedroom visible upstairs, clean, organized, the home of someone who valued control. "Don't touch anything. Don't go outside. Don't make me regret not letting them kill you." He headed for the door. "Where are you going?" "To get food. The door locks from the outside. Don't bother trying the windows. They're barred." He paused in the doorway, looking back at her with those impossibly dark eyes. "Try to relax, Tessa. You're safe here." "I'm kidnapped here." "Same thing." He left. The moment the lock clicked, Tessa was on her feet, testing every window, every door, looking for any possible escape route. Nothing. She was trapped in a mountain fortress with a man who was either her savior or her captor, or possibly both, and she had no idea which possibility terrified her more. Raphael returned an hour later with groceries, and found Tessa had barricaded herself in the upstairs bedroom, using a chair wedged under the doorknob. "That's not going to work," he called up the stairs. "I literally built this place. I know all its weaknesses." "Come up here and I'll show you your weakness," she shouted back. "Is it violence? Because I'm into that." Something hit the door from the inside, probably a shoe. He cooked dinner, rice, black beans, perfectly seasoned grilled meat that made the whole cabin smell incredible. He set 2 plates on the table and waited. Eventually, hunger won out. Tessa emerged from upstairs, glaring at him with those furious green eyes that he absolutely should not find attractive. "I hate you," she announced, sitting down. "Noted." They ate in hostile silence, but the food was too good to waste on maintaining her anger. Halfway through the meal, Tessa broke. "Who are you?" "Really?" Raphael considered his answer carefully. "Someone trying to keep you alive." "Why?" "Because I'm an idiot with a hero complex." "That's not a real answer." "It's the only one I'm giving you tonight." She threw her napkin at him. He caught it, almost smiled, then seemed to catch himself and went serious again. After dinner, he showed her how everything worked: the water heater, the generator backup, the emergency supplies. He was meticulous, thorough, treating her like a new recruit who needed to learn the terrain. "The cartel has resources," he explained, showing her the security monitors. "They've probably identified you by now, found out where you live, where you work, who you care about. They won't stop until you're dead or disappeared. So what's your plan? Keep me here forever? Until I figure out how to make you disappear the right way. New identity, new country, new life." "I don't want a new life." "Too bad. Your old one ended the moment you hit record on that video." Tessa felt tears burning behind her eyes but refused to let them fall. "I just wanted an adventure. Something to make me feel alive after Marcus left me for Jessica from HR, and my mother kept asking when I'd settle down and give her grandchildren. I just wanted something." Raphael's expression softened slightly. "You got something. Just not what you expected." Story of my life. That night Tessa couldn't sleep. The mountain air was cold, the sounds were unfamiliar, and every creak made her think killers were coming through the windows. She crept downstairs and found Raphael on the deck, shirtless, doing pull-ups on a bar he'd installed between support beams. The moonlight caught every ridge of muscle, every bead of sweat on his skin. That scar on his neck continued down across his shoulder, intersecting with others, thin white lines that told stories he probably wouldn't share. "Can't sleep either?" he asked without stopping his reps. "My kidnapper won't let me call my mother. Forgive me for being stressed." He dropped down, breathing hard, and grabbed a towel. "Your mother would be planning your funeral right now if I hadn't grabbed you. Maybe that's my choice to make. Not anymore." They stared at each other across the deck. Despite her fear, despite her anger, Tessa couldn't deny the pull she felt toward him. He was dangerous, clearly. But there was something underneath the hardness, something protective and almost gentle in the way he'd carried her, fed her, explained things with patience even when she screamed at him. "Why do you care?" she asked quietly. "You don't know me." "I know enough." "That's not an answer. I don't have better ones." He went to move past her back into the cabin. Without thinking, Tessa reached out and touched the scar on his shoulder. He froze instantly, every muscle going rigid under her fingers. "Who hurt you?" she whispered. His hand came up and gently removed hers. "Someone who's dead now. Don't worry about it." But she did worry. About him, about herself, about this impossible situation that was starting to feel less like a kidnapping and more like something she couldn't quite name. 3 days into captivity, Tessa had learned several things. Raphael was a better cook than she'd ever be. He woke up at 5:30 every morning without an alarm. He did exactly 200 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, and ran 5 miles before breakfast. He was fluent in Portuguese, English, and Spanish. He read philosophy books in the evenings, and he hadn't touched her once since carrying her through that door, despite the electric tension that crackled between them whenever they were in the same room. On the 4th night, a storm knocked out the generator. They were plunged into darkness, thunder shaking the cabin's walls. Raphael moved immediately, lighting candles and checking the backup systems, while Tessa sat on the couch and tried not to panic. She'd never liked storms. "It's okay," he said, appearing beside her with a battery lantern. "We're safe up here." "Nothing feels safe." He sat down next to her, closer than he'd ever sat before. "Tell me about your life, the one you're afraid to go back to. Maybe it was the darkness, maybe it was the loneliness, maybe it was just that she needed to talk to someone, even if that someone had kidnapped her." But Tessa started talking. She told him about Marcus, who'd cheated with Jessica right before proposing to Tessa, how she'd found the texts the same day she'd been planning to say yes, about her soul-crushing marketing job where she sold products she didn't believe in, about her mother's constant disappointment, about feeling like she was living someone else's life instead of her own. "I came to Brazil to feel something real," she finished, "to do something brave. Instead, I'm trapped in a cabin with the most infuriating man I've ever met." "Infuriating? You're bossy, secretive, violent, and you kidnapped me." "Fair points. But you also saved my life, and you cooked me breakfast. And you haven't," she trailed off. "Haven't what?" "Hurt me. Despite having every opportunity." Raphael turned to look at her in the candlelight. "I would never hurt you, Tessa." "How do I know that?" "You don't. But it's true anyway." The storm raged outside. Inside, something was shifting between them, something inevitable and probably stupid and absolutely electric. "Tell me something real about you," Tessa demanded. "If I'm stuck here, I deserve to know who's keeping me prisoner." His jaw clenched. Then, "I grew up in the favelas. My mother died when I was 15. Gang violence. Wrong place, wrong time. I couldn't save her." His voice was flat, emotionless, like he'd told this story so many times it had lost all meaning. "I became a firefighter because I wanted to save people, to balance the scales somehow." Balance what scales? He didn't answer that, just looked at her with something raw and haunted in his dark eyes. "Why did you really save me?" she asked softly. "Because I'm an idiot." "Be serious." "I am serious. Smart men would have left you there. But you didn't." "No, I didn't." Tessa kissed him first. It was supposed to be quick, a test, a question. But the moment her lips touched his, Raphael made a sound low in his throat and grabbed her face with both hands, kissing her back like he'd been holding himself back for days. Because he had. His kiss was fierce, demanding, all tongue and teeth and barely controlled need. He backed her against the couch, his body covering hers, one hand fisting in her hair while the other gripped her hip hard enough to bruise. "Tell me to stop," he growled against her mouth. "Absolutely not." He pulled her shirt over her head and stopped, just staring at her in the candlelight like she was something holy he didn't deserve to touch. "You're sure?" "Raphael, shut up and fuck me." Something in him snapped. For 2 days, they barely left the bed. Raphael was as intense in sex as he was in everything else, demanding, vocal, specific about exactly how he wanted her. And Tessa discovered she loved it, loved surrendering control to someone who actually knew what to do with it, loved the way he'd pin her wrists above her head and make her beg, loved how afterward he'd be surprisingly gentle, tracing patterns on her skin and teaching her Portuguese phrases. "Say it again," he'd murmur, kissing down her neck. "Eu te quero." "And what does that mean?" "I want you." "Good girl." They cooked together, which became its own form of foreplay, fighting for counter space, arguing about seasoning, him pressing her against the stove while something burned behind them. They talked about everything except what mattered, who he really was, what would happen when this ended, whether any of this was real. On the 5th morning, Tessa woke to find Raphael already gone, out on his run. She padded downstairs to make coffee and noticed his desk drawer partially open. She wasn't snooping. Not really. She was just looking for a pen to write down a recipe he'd mentioned. The photo was right on top. Young Raphael, maybe 18, standing next to a man in an expensive suit. They were in front of a mansion, modern, massive, dripping with wealth. The man had his arm around Raphael's shoulders in a gesture that seemed possessive rather than affectionate. Raphael looked uncomfortable, his jaw tight even then, but he was clearly part of this world. Whatever world this wasn't the favela story he'd told her. "What are you doing?" Tessa jumped, dropping the photo. Raphael stood in the doorway, sweaty from his run, his expression absolutely closed off. "I was looking for a pen. That drawer is private. I wasn't snooping, I said it's private." His voice was hard, cold, nothing like the man who'd whispered her name while making love to her an hour ago. Tessa felt something crack in her chest. "Who is that man?" "No one important." "Raphael." "Drop it, Tessa. You told me you grew up poor. That photo—" "I said drop it!" The roar echoed through the cabin. Tessa took a step back, suddenly remembering that this man had kidnapped her, that she knew almost nothing about him, that she'd been sleeping with a stranger who might be far more dangerous than she'd realized. Raphael seemed to register her fear. His expression shifted from anger to something like regret, but he didn't apologize, just turned and walked out onto the deck, leaving her standing there with the photo still clutched in her hand. Tessa looked down at it again. The man in the suit had dead eyes, the kind of eyes that had seen terrible things and done worse. And young Raphael, standing in his shadow, looked trapped. What had she gotten herself into? That night, headlights cut through the darkness around midnight. Raphael moved like lightning, grabbed a gun from under the bed. When the hell had that gotten there? Practically threw Tessa toward a door she'd thought was a closet, but opened onto a reinforced panic room. "Get in. Lock it from the inside. Don't come out until I tell you." "Raphael, what?" "Now." She scrambled inside. The panic room was small, but equipped. Water, food, communications equipment, weapons. Jesus Christ. What kind of firefighter had a setup like this? Through a small window reinforced with bulletproof glass, she watched Raphael position himself by the door, gun held professionally, face completely emotionless. This wasn't the man who'd made her breakfast. This was someone else entirely, someone who'd clearly done this before. A car door slammed, footsteps on the deck, then a voice calling out in Portuguese. Raphael tensed, then slowly lowered the gun. He unlocked the door. The man who entered was younger, maybe late 20s, dressed in expensive streetwear that couldn't quite hide the gun at his waistband. He looked like Raphael, same dark eyes, same sharp features, but without the weight of whatever burden Raphael carried. This man moved like violence was easy. They spoke in rapid Portuguese. Tessa couldn't understand the words, but she understood. Tone. This was a negotiation, a threat, a warning. Then the younger man switched to English, probably for her benefit. "You can't protect her forever, Mano. They know you have her. They know where you are. They've always known." "Then why the courtesy visit, Lucas?" Lucas, his brother. It clicked into place. "Because I remember when you used to be family, before you decided playing hero was more important than blood." I decided not killing people was more important than money. Sorry if that disappointed Pai. Pai is dead. Has been for 3 years. This isn't about him anymore. Tessa watched Raphael's shoulders stiffen. His father was dead. He'd never mentioned that. What do they want? Raphael asked quietly. What they have always wanted. The girl dead and you back where you belong. Or they burn everything you've built, including you. Tell them I said vice foder. Fuck off. Even Tessa knew that one. Lucas smiled, but there was sadness in it. I'll tell them. But Raphael, this time they won't just send me with a warning. Next time it'll be an execution squad. And they won't care about collateral damage. I know. The brothers stared at each other. So much history in that look. So much love and loss and impossibility. Then Lucas turned and left without another word. Raphael stood frozen in the doorway for a long moment after the car pulled away. Then he punched the wall so hard Tessa heard the crack from inside the panic room. She gave him 5 minutes before coming out. He was sitting on the couch, head in his hands, blood dripping from his knuckles. Your Cartel, Tessa said flatly. Was. Past tense. That's not a past you just walk away from. I did walk away, 8 years ago. And you didn't think to mention this before we had sex? He stood up, and she saw real anguish in his face for the first time. What did you want me to say? Hi, I'm Raphael. I used to execute people for my father's drug empire, but now I save kittens from trees. Would that have made you feel better? It would have made it honest. You want honest? He stepped closer, his voice dropping to something dangerous. Fine. My father was Vicente do Nascimento. You can Google him if you want nightmares. I was being groomed to take over until I realized what that actually meant. How much blood, how many lives. So I left. Changed my name. Became a firefighter. Thought I could balance the scales. You're a killer. Yes. The word hung between them like a guillotine blade. How many? She whispered. Enough that I stopped counting. Enough that I'll never be clean. Tessa felt tears burning her eyes. And me? Was I just another way to atone? Another life to save to make yourself feel better? At first. Maybe. His honesty was brutal. But then I fell in love with you, which was the stupidest thing I've ever done. You can't love me. You don't even know me. I know you sing in the shower off key. I know you're terrible at cooking rice. I know you're brave enough to bite someone who could break you in half. I know you make me want to be better than I am. He cupped her face with bloody hands. And I know that I've never wanted anything as much as I want to keep you safe. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to, but your brother said they know where we are. They've always known. They just didn't care until you made them care. So what happens now? Raphael pulled away, and something in his expression made her blood run cold. Now I fix this, permanently. What does that mean? It means you're going home, Tessa, and I'm going to make sure you can actually have a life when you get there. The way he said it, like he wasn't included in that future, made her stomach drop. Raphael, don't pack your bag. I'm calling my contact in the federal police. He'll get you to the embassy safely. What about you? He smiled, and it was the saddest thing she'd ever seen. Don't worry about me. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. She tried to argue, to fight, to convince him there had to be another way. But Raphael had already made his decision, and when he looked at her with those dark, determined eyes, she knew nothing she said would change his mind. He was going to sacrifice himself to save her, and there wasn't a damn thing she could do to stop him. One more night, Raphael said quietly. I'll make the call in the morning. Tonight? Just give me tonight. They made love like it was the last time. Because it was. He was slow, deliberate, memorizing every inch of her body with his hands and mouth. When she tried to speed things up, he pinned her wrists gently and shook his head. No. Let me have this. Let me remember you exactly like this. Afterward, lying tangled together in the dark, Tessa traced the scars on his chest, each one a story he'd never tell, each one a piece of history he'd tried to outrun. Come with me, she whispered. Witness protection or whatever, we'll disappear together. I can't. Why not? Because men like me don't get happy endings. We get what we deserve. That's bullshit. He kissed her forehead. When you get home, live big, be brave, Don't settle for some boring marketing job and a man who doesn't deserve you. You deserve me. No, but I'm grateful I got to pretend for a little while. She fell asleep in his arms. When she woke up, it was to find him already dressed, her bag packed, and a cup of coffee on the nightstand. Drugged coffee, she'd realize later, just enough to keep her compliant. The federal police contact was a woman, Captain Sousa, middle-aged, serious, sympathetic. She helped a drowsy Tessa into an unmarked car while Raphael watched from the cabin doorway. "You'll be safe with her," he said when Tessa tried to resist. "She's one of the good ones." "Please don't do this." "I have to." "Why?" "Because loving you was the first truly good thing I've done in years. Let me finish it right." He bent and kissed her, soft, gentle, heartbreaking. Then he closed the car door before she could say anything else. The last thing Tessa saw before the drugs pulled her under was Raphael walking away from the cabin toward the mountain path that led back down to the city, walking toward whatever end he'd planned for himself. She wanted to scream, to fight, to demand Captain Sousa turn the car around, but the drugs were too strong. Darkness took her. Tessa woke up in the American embassy, safe and sound, and absolutely destroyed. Captain Sousa sat beside her bed looking sympathetic. "Your friend Raphael has provided us with valuable information about Comando Vermelho's operations. Locations, names, financial records. He's been a quiet asset for years, feeding us information while maintaining his cover." "Is he dead?" Tessa asked hoarsely. "I can't comment on ongoing operations." "That's not a no. It's not a yes either. Rafael Costa is complicated, but he's also one of the bravest men I've ever known. If there's a way for him to survive this, he'll find it." Tessa was processed through embassy bureaucracy. Statements, photographs, promises that the cartel members responsible for the threats had been arrested, that she was safe to return home, that this was over. But it didn't feel over. It felt like she'd lost something essential, like part of her had stayed in that mountain cabin, waiting for a man who might never come back. They flew her home first class. She stared out the window the whole flight, seeing nothing. Boston was exactly as she'd left it, gray, cold, predictable, everything she'd wanted to escape. Tessa quit her job via email, broke her lease, moved into a hotel room and spent 2 weeks obsessively watching Brazilian news websites, running translations through Google, looking for any mention of Rafael Costa or major cartel arrests or firefighter deaths. There was a story about a massive federal raid on Comando Vermelho operations, multiple arrests, including several high-ranking members, but no names, no details about casualties or informants, no mention of Rafael. Maya visited, full of concern and wedding photos Tessa couldn't focus on. "You're scaring me," Maya said. "What happened in Rio, really?" "I fell in love with the wrong man." "Marcus? Honey, he wasn't..." "Not Marcus, someone else. Someone who saved my life and broke my heart and might be dead because of me. Tessa, I need to be alone right now." On the 14th day, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a firefighter's badge, scorched, dented, still bearing traces of soot, and a note in Portuguese that she had to run through 3 different translation apps. "Phoenixes burn before they rise. Wait for me." Tessa clutched the badge and cried for the first time since leaving Brazil. Not from grief, from hope. He was alive. He had to be. She'd wait forever if she had to. 3 weeks after receiving the package, Tessa was back on a plane to Rio. She'd sold everything she owned, downloaded every Portuguese language app she could find, and booked a one-way ticket. Maya thought she was insane. Her mother threatened to stage an intervention. She didn't care. If Raphael was alive, she was going to find him. And if he was dead, well, at least she'd know. She took a bus to the mountains, hiked the last 2 miles to the cabin. The door was unlocked. Inside, everything was exactly as she remembered, except emptier somehow, colder. The coffee mugs they'd used were still in the sink. His book was still on the side table, bookmark in place, but no Raphael. Tessa sat on the couch and let herself break. She'd been so certain. The note, the badge, the hope. It had all been a lie she'd told herself because she couldn't accept that he was gone. "You're terrible at following instructions." She spun so fast she nearly fell off the couch. Raphael stood in the doorway, thinner than before, a new scar bisecting his eyebrow, but alive. definitely alive. He was leaning against the frame like he'd been standing there for a while, watching her. "You're alive," she breathed. "Barely. Your federal friends had a lot of questions. Turns out testifying against your family takes time. Your brother is in witness protection. Decided blood was more important than the cartel. Funny how that works." Raphael pushed off the doorframe and walked toward her slowly, like he was afraid she'd disappear. "They offered me relocation, new identity, new country, new life. Very generous. But I have something more important to do first." He dropped to one knee in front of her. Tessa's heart stopped. "I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet." His voice was rough, nervous, nothing like the confident man who'd ordered her around in bed. "I'm asking you to give me a chance to earn that question. I'm asking you to let me prove I can be the man you deserve. I'm asking..." She kissed him before he could finish, practically launching herself off the couch and into his arms. He caught her, held her tight, and kissed her back like he'd been drowning and she was air. "Yes," she gasped against his mouth. "Yes to all of it." "You didn't let me finish." "Don't care. The answer is yes." He pulled back to look at her, really look at her, drinking her in like he couldn't believe she was real. "You came back." "Of course I came back, you idiot. I love you. You love a former cartel enforcer who kidnapped you. I love a man who saved my life, showed me how to be brave, and makes really good coffee." "The coffee is terrible, and you know it." "Shut up and kiss me again." So he did. 6 months later, they were living in a small apartment in Lisbon, Portugal, far from Rio, far from the cartel, starting completely over. Raphael had a job at the city fire department under his new name. Tessa was writing a book about her fictional experience, heavily altered at his very firm insistence. "You can't use real names," he'd said, reading over her shoulder. "I'm not. I changed yours to Rodrigo. That's basically the same name." "Fine. Diego. Better. Make him uglier too, and less charming." "Should I also make him less bossy and arrogant?" "That wouldn't be realistic." Life was different. Quieter. They argued about groceries and whose turn it was to do laundry. Raphael taught her Portuguese properly. No more Google Translate mistakes. She taught him to loosen up, to laugh more, to believe he deserved good things. They were building something real, something that had nothing to do with cartels or kidnapping or danger, something that was just theirs. One evening, cooking dinner together in their tiny kitchen, Raphael watched her murder the garlic, again, and felt something settle in his chest. Peace. Actual peace. "We're terrible at this," Tessa laughed, trying to salvage the burnt pieces. "At cooking? At being normal." He pulled her away from the stove and into his arms. "Who wants normal? We survived a cartel, a kidnapping, and your terrible Portuguese. We can survive anything. My Portuguese is better than your English. Your Portuguese is like a drunk toddler." She kissed him to shut him up. It worked beautifully. That night, lying in bed with the Lisbon lights glowing through their window, they made their pact. Their real one, the one that would define everything going forward. "No more secrets," Tessa said. "Ever. Even the embarrassing ones? Especially those. Fine. I have a PlayStation I've been hiding at Marcelo's apartment because I was afraid you'd judge me for playing video games. I absolutely judge you for that. What else?" He thought about it. "When we first met, I had a 30-second internal debate about whether to save you or just let the explosion handle the problem." "You're kidding." "I'm not. Then you opened your mouth to argue with me, and I thought, this woman is going to be so much trouble. And I was right. But you saved me anyway. Best decision I ever made, even if you are trouble." She kissed his jaw, his neck, that scar that told stories he'd finally started sharing. "My turn. I knew I loved you after 3 days. I was just too stubborn to admit it. I knew after 1 day. When you bit me and I got turned on instead of angry, I thought, well, I'm completely fucked." "You were right. Usually am." She hit him with a pillow. He grabbed her wrists, pinned them, and suddenly playful turned into something else. Something intense and familiar and absolutely right. Afterward, wrapped around each other like they were still afraid to let go, Raphael said quietly, "Do you ever regret it? Coming back?" Tessa considered the question seriously. Her old life felt like it belonged to someone else, a woman who was afraid, who settled, who didn't know what she wanted. That woman was gone. In her place was someone braver, stronger, more alive. "No," she said finally. "Do you? Saving me?" "Every single day." She tensed. "I regret that you had to go through hell. I regret that I couldn't protect you from all of it. I regret that loving me will always come with complications." He turned her face to his. "But I've never, not for 1 second, regretted knowing you. You made me want to be human again. You made me believe I could be more than my worst mistakes. That's everything. You were always more than that. You just needed someone to remind you. Lucky me, I found a stubborn American who refuses to give up on lost causes. You're not a lost cause. You're just complicated." Complicated. He tested the word, liked it better than monster or killer or any of the other things he'd called himself over the years. "I can live with complicated." "Good, because you're stuck with me now." "Promise?" "Promise." Raphael's alarm went off at 5:30. Old habits. He reached to turn it off and found Tessa's hand already there. "Stay," she mumbled, eyes still closed. "Just 10 more minutes." He should get up. He had a shift in 2 hours. But she was soft and warm and perfect in his arms. And what were 10 minutes compared to the rest of their lives? 10 minutes, he agreed. She smiled without opening her eyes, burrowed closer into his chest, and fell back asleep instantly. Raphael lay there, watching morning light paint their bedroom gold, and thought about probability. The odds of being in that specific place at that specific time, of her filming that specific video, of him making that specific choice to save instead of walk away. The odds of finding someone who looked at your worst parts and decided they were worth loving anyway. Mathematically impossible. But here she was. Here they were. 10 minutes turned into 20 before he finally, reluctantly, extracted himself from the bed. Tessa made a sleepy noise of protest but let him go. He showered, dressed in his uniform, made them both coffee. Better now, after months of her complaints. He was halfway out the door when she called out, "Hey, Raphael." He turned back. She was propped up on one elbow, hair a mess, wearing one of his old t-shirts, looking absolutely perfect. "Yeah? Be safe today." "Always am." "Liar, you run into burning buildings for a living. Someone has to save the idiots who get themselves in trouble." She grinned. "Like you saved me?" "Exactly like that." "Then I guess we're both lucky you're good at your job." He crossed back to the bed, kissed her properly, and felt that same electric charge that had been there from the first moment. Some things never faded. "I love you," he said against her mouth. "I know. Now go save some lives. I'll be here when you get back." "Promise?" "Always." He left for his shift. She turned back to her laptop, pulling up the final chapter of her book. The cursor blinked at her, waiting. She typed, "And for the first time in both their lives, forever felt possible."